From Courtney Love's desperate attempts to retain the fame she once enjoyed in the late 90s to Marilyn Manson's failed attempts to remain in the spotlight amidst his many legal troubles. In this video, we're going to look into some rock stars who haven't figured out they aren't famous anymore. And first on this list, we have Courtney Love. Despite her early success, Courtney Love's career began to unravel in the late 1990s and early 2000s due to a combination of personal issues, professional missteps, and shifting public perceptions. Courtney Love emerged as a significant figure in the grunge and alternative rock scenes of the 1990s. She initially gained attention as the lead singer of the alternative rock band Hole, which she formed in 1989. Her short-lived marriage to Kurt Cobain, the frontman of Nirvana at the time, further propelled her into the spotlight. However, Courtney's battle with substance abuse has caused her public image a lot of damage. Her addiction problems frequently landed her in the headlines for all the wrong reasons, overshadowing her musical achievements.
On Wednesday, Los Angeles police announced that Kurt Cobain's widow, Courtney Love, had been arrested last week on drug charges.
To add to that, the release of her debut solo album, American Sweetheart, on February 10, 2004, that was supposed to be a glorious comeback, ended up a complete commercial failure. The album debuted at 53 on the Billboard 200, selling a little over 200,000 copies in the US. All of these, coupled with more arrests for drug-related offenses, erratic public behavior, like when she flashed David Letterman on national television, and highly publicized court battles, including custody disputes over her daughter Frances Bean Cobain, further damaged her reputation. Courtney's unpredictable and often controversial behavior also alienated fans and peers alike. She engaged in numerous public feuds with other musicians, celebrities, and even her own band members. Her outbursts, both online and offline, painted a picture of instability, making it difficult for her to maintain professional relationships and credibility in the industry. Courtney also attempted to transition into acting and other entertainment ventures but had little success because, though she received praise for her roles in films like The People vs. Larry Flynt in 1996, her acting career just never took off in a way that could sustain her fame independently of her music career. Additionally, her public image, increasingly defined by scandal rather than artistry, further affected her standing in the eyes of both the media and her fans. Today, while she remains a notable figure from the 1990s alternative rock scene, Courtney Love is no longer at the forefront of the music industry or even half as famous as she was in the late 1990s. Vince Neil, Motley Crue. The iconic frontman of Motley Crue once stood at the pinnacle of rock and roll fame. Known for his distinctive voice, charismatic stage presence, and wild lifestyle, Neil was a key figure in the glam metal movement of the 1980s. However, over the years, his fame has decreased significantly. After being briefly replaced in Motley Crue in the early 1990s, Neil's solo just never matched the success of his tenure with Motley Crue. Neil released solo albums such as Exposed in 1993 and Carved in Stone in 1995. And although Exposed achieved moderate success, none of his solo efforts have garnered the same critical or commercial acclaim as his work with Motley Crue. Several factors have contributed to this decline, spanning from personal issues to professional challenges and broader changes in the music industry. But one of the primary reasons for Vince Neil's decline in fame is his struggles with substance abuse, which have been publicly documented. His battles with alcohol and drugs have led to numerous legal troubles, including DUI arrests and lawsuits. And one of the most famous ones was in 1984, when he was involved in a tragic car accident that resulted in the death of Hanoi Rocks drummer Nicholas Razzle Dingley and injured two others, leaving one of them with permanent brain damage.
One girl was in a coma for 2 months, and my friend died.
Surprisingly, Neil survived unharmed, but was convicted of vehicular manslaughter and driving under the influence, and he was sentenced to 30 days in prison, 200 hours of community service, and paid nearly $3 million in restitution.
They call accidents because they weren't supposed to happen. It's not like you get in a car, you go, well, I'm going to get drunk tonight and kill somebody. You know? Sure. Take away their license forever. Make them pay, $3 million. That sobers the people up real quick. It did you? Sure did.
However, despite this, over the years, Neil has been charged with a couple more DUIs, one in 2007 and the other in 2010. Over the years, Vince Neil has also ventured into reality television, appearing on shows like The Surreal Life, Skating with the Stars, and The New Celebrity Apprentice. While these appearances have kept him in the public eye to some extent, they have not significantly enhanced his musical career. Neil's substance abuse issues have also led to inconsistent performances, with fans and critics noting a decline in his vocal abilities and stage presence. Over the years, this inconsistency has alienated some longtime fans and hindered his ability to attract new ones. His personal problems and lack of consistent output have often overshadowed Neil's solo endeavors. Without the brand and backing of Motley Crue, Neil's solo work has struggled to make as great an impact as he once made in the band. The rise of digital music, streaming services, and social media has also transformed how artists gain and maintain fame. While some artists from the 1980s have successfully adapted to these changes, Neil has not been as active in utilizing these new platforms to revive his career. So while Vince Neil will always be respected for his contribution to rock while he was in Motley Crue, there is no denial that he is not half as famous as he once was. Sebastian Bach, Skid Row. In 1996, Skid Row was invited to perform as an opening act on Kiss' reunion tour. Sebastian was eager to do it, however the other band members turned it down due to scheduling conflicts. This caused a major fight between Bach and the band members that would later snowball into his dismissal from the band. The departure marked the end of an era for Bach. While he continued to pursue a solo career, the spotlight that had once burned so brightly began to wane. The music scene had evolved, and the masses that had once pushed for the high-octane spectacle of Skid Row were now drawn to the introspective lyricism and the stripped-down aesthetics of alternative rock. Despite the shifting tides, Bach has remained active in the music industry, releasing solo albums. His first solo album, Bring 'Em Back Alive, 1999, a mix of live Skid Row tracks and new studio recordings, received a lukewarm response. While fans appreciated his continued efforts, the album did not capture widespread attention. His subsequent albums, including Angel Down, 2007, Kicking and Screaming, 2011, and Give 'Em Hell, 2014, featured solid rock and metal tracks, but failed to reach the commercial heights of his Skid Row days. Bach's solo efforts were overshadowed by newer bands and changing musical trends. As the music industry underwent significant changes in the 1990s and 2000s, the rise of grunge, alternative rock, shifted public attention away from the glam metal scene. Bach's style, heavily rooted in the glam metal aesthetic, struggled to find a place in the evolving musical landscape. Also, Bach's solo career has been marked by inconsistent output. While he has released several albums, there have been long gaps between releases. This inconsistency has made it difficult for him to maintain a steady presence in the music scene, and unlike some of his contemporaries who managed to stay in the spotlight through reality TV and media engagements, Bach's media presence has been very little. Although he appeared on shows like Gilmore Girls and Supergroup, these appearances were not enough to keep him in the mainstream consciousness. Bach has also been involved in various controversies and public feuds, which have sometimes overshadowed his musical contributions. His outspoken nature and occasional clashes with other musicians have also contributed to a mixed public perception. Nowadays, Bach often reminisces about the glory days with Skid Row, and his desire for a reunion with his former bandmates is very obvious. He speaks with a sense of nostalgia, a longing for the brotherhood, and the rush of performing to legions of adoring fans. It's a sentiment that resonates with those who remember the golden age of glam metal, but it also highlights a disconnect with the current state of the music industry. However, Skid Row, for their part, has moved on. The band has cycled through several lead vocalists since Bach's departure, and their musical direction has evolved. The recent announcement of Lizzie Hale joining the band for upcoming dates is a clear indication that they are not looking back, but forging ahead, embracing new opportunities and collaborations. Marilyn Manson. Despite his initial success in the late 90s, Manson's career began to unravel in the early 2000s, marked by a series of controversies and legal troubles that damaged his reputation. Several factors contributed to his fall from grace. One major factor was Manson's struggles with substance abuse and mental health issues. Reports of erratic behavior, drug addiction, and emotional instability painted a troubling picture of the artist behind the persona. His personal demons often spilled over into his professional life, affecting his ability to tour, record, and maintain relationships. Manson also found himself caught up in various legal battles throughout his career, ranging from lawsuits filed by former band members to allegations of assault, sexual assault, While some of these legal disputes were settled out of court, others resulted in damaging publicity and financial setbacks for Manson and his associates. His controversial persona and provocative lyrics also attracted the fury of conservative groups, religious organizations, and media watchdogs who accused him of promoting violence, Satanism, and anti-Christian sentiments, including him burning Bibles on stage. The media scrutiny further intensified, and following the Columbine High School massacre in 1999, the media largely reported that the shooters were inspired by Manson's music. Despite Manson's denials and attempts to distance himself from the tragedy, the association between his music and the massacre cast a long shadow over his career. Fast forward to the 2010s, and Manson's attempts to remain in the limelight seemed increasingly desperate. A public spat with pop sensation Justin Bieber over t-shirt rights in 2017 was a far cry from the artist who once sparked national debates about freedom of expression. But that wasn't the deepest cut into reputation. The final blow to Manson's fame came in the form of allegations of abuse by actress Evan Rachel Wood and some other women, with Rachel Wood testifying against him in court.
He cornered me in our bedroom and asked me to kneel while he tied me up by my hands and feet. Once I was restrained, he beat me and shocked sensitive parts of my body with a torture device called a violet wand.
These accusations peeled back the curtain on a man whose offstage actions allegedly mirrored the darkness of his onstage persona. The legal implications were swift, with lawsuits piling up and law enforcement raids on his home. Professional ties were severed as his record label and talent agency distanced themselves, and his appearances on television shows were scrapped. As the 2020s unfold, Marilyn Manson's star has dimmed significantly. The shock rocker who once headlined music festivals now headlines court dockets, Ted Nugent. Once a towering figure in the world of rock, with the growl of Cat Scratch Fever echoing through stadiums, Ted Nugent, also known as Motor City Madman, now seems to have lost public recognition. In the 1970s and 80s, Nugent's guitar prowess and onstage antics cemented his status as a rock icon. His music was a staple on radio stations, and his concerts were legendary for their high-energy performances. However, as the years rolled on, the tides of musical taste shifted. The grunge movement of the 90s and the advent of electronic dance music in the 2000s all contributed to a landscape that Nugent's classic hard rock sound no longer dominated. The digital age has further widened the gap between Nugent and contemporary audiences. With platforms like Spotify and YouTube dictating the charts, Nugent's presence has heavily decreased. His last studio album, Detroit Muscle, released in 2022, received mixed reviews and did not make a significant impact on the modern music scene. The album's attempt to return to hard rock roots was seen by some as a retread of past glories, failing to resonate with the younger demographic that now dictates mainstream success. Public perception of Nugent has also been shaped by his offstage activities. His outspoken political views and controversial statements have overshadowed his musical legacy. Nugent's past has also come under new scrutiny in the wake of movements like Chant and Me Too. His relationship in the 1970s with a 17-year-old, which he has spoken about publicly, has been re-examined through a modern lens, further damaging his image. To make things even worse, Courtney Love, also alleged on Howard Stern, show that she performed sexual activities with him when she was just 12 years old, allegations he strongly denied. Nugent's advocacy for hunting and his role on the board of directors of the National Rifle Association from 1995 to 2021 have also made him a target for animal rights activists and those advocating for gun control. His rhetoric, often seen as extreme, has made headlines and sparked backlash, distancing him from the mainstream narrative. Despite these challenges, Nugent continues to tour and release music, seemingly unaware of his waning spotlight. He maintains a loyal fan base that shares his views and appreciates his unapologetic approach to life and music. However, this niche following is a far cry from the widespread acclaim he once enjoyed. Duff McKagan, Guns N' Roses. The early 1990s marked the beginning of internal strife and personal struggles that would eventually lead to McKagan's fall from grace, and a couple things contributed to his decline in fame. The first was McKagan's battle with alcohol and drug addiction, which was highly publicized throughout his career with Guns N' Roses. The rock and roll lifestyle took a severe toll on his health, building up to a life-threatening bout of alcohol-induced acute pancreatitis in 1994.
So your pancreas expands. Mine expanded to the size of like an American football. And pancreas is not a large organ, and it expanded and burst.
His addiction not only impacted his health, performance, and creativity, it also strained his relationships with band members. Internal conflicts and power struggles within Guns N' Roses led to a revolving door of members and a fracturing of the original lineup. By the mid-1990s, key members including Slash and Steven Adler had left the band, leaving just McKagan and Axl Rose to carry on. The constant turmoil and instability made it difficult for the band to maintain their momentum and relevance, and in 1997, McKagan finally left left Guns N' Roses. He expressed a desire to focus on his health and family, and his departure marked the end of an era for the band and began a period of relative insignificance for McKagan. While he continued to pursue music with projects like Neurotic Outsiders and Loaded, none of his solo projects achieved the same level of success or recognition as Guns N' Roses. McKagan's post-Guns N' Roses projects, while creatively fulfilling, did not achieve much significant commercial success. Albums released with Loaded and Velvet Revolver, another band he formed with Slash and other notable musicians, received moderate acclaim, but failed to capture the widespread attention and sales of his Guns N' Roses days. After his health scare in the mid-1990s, McKagan made significant lifestyle changes, including becoming sober and focusing on his well-being. While this was a positive and necessary step for his personal life, it also meant stepping away from the high-octane, attention-grabbing lifestyle that kept him in the public eye. McKagan's departure from Guns N' Roses and subsequent involvement in less commercially successful projects meant he no longer had the consistent media attention that came with being in one of the world's biggest rock bands. McKagan also diversified his career, focusing on writing, financial advising, and public speaking. He has authored books, including his autobiography It's So Easy and Other Lies, and has become a respected voice on issues like financial literacy for musicians. While these endeavors are commendable, they do not carry the same fame as the glorious days during his rock and roll career. Axl Rose's. In the late 1980s, the world was introduced to a voice that would become the anthem of a generation. Axl Rose, with his band Guns N' Roses, skyrocketed to fame with their debut album Appetite for Destruction. However, destruction soon occurred in the group, with internal conflicts and power struggles within Guns N' Roses, leading to a multiple change of members and a fracturing of the original lineup. By the mid-1990s, key members including Slash, Duff McKagan, and Steven Adler had left the band, leaving Rose as the sole remaining original member. After the release of The Spaghetti Incident, 1993, a cover album, Guns N' Roses went on an extended hiatus. Rose's perfectionism and unstable behavior led to numerous delays in producing new material. The long-awaited album Chinese Democracy was repeatedly postponed, and it wasn't until 2008, 15 years after their last album, that Chinese Democracy, the band's sixth album, was finally released. But by that time, the music landscape had changed dramatically, and the album failed to meet the enormous expectations that had built up over the years. So, while Chinese Democracy was a commercial success relative to industry standards, it didn't capture the same cultural impact as earlier Guns N' Roses albums. The album's production, which spanned over a decade and reportedly cost millions of dollars, was also criticized for its overproduction and lack of the raw energy that defined the band's earlier work. This lack of innovation and connection with contemporary audiences contributed to Rose's decline in fame. The 1990s and early 2000s also saw a shift in musical trends, with grunge, alternative rock, and later, and nu metal dominating the charts. The edgy, theatrical style of Guns N' Roses began to feel outdated, and Rose struggled to adapt to the evolving landscape. This shift made it challenging for Rose to stay relevant in an industry that was increasingly favoring authenticity and new sounds. Rose's public persona, marked by unpredictable behavior and controversial statements, further tarnished his reputation. High-profile incidents, such as his late arrivals at concerts, cancellations, and on-stage rants alienated fans and promoters alike. Legal battles and feuds with former bandmates only added to the negative perception of Rose as difficult and unreliable. Later on, Rose's health also became a concern, with reports of vocal issues and physical ailments affecting his ability to perform. These health challenges impacted Rose's prolonged absence from the music scene, coupled with the long delay in releasing Chinese Democracy, led to a loss of momentum and visibility. Rose's unpredictable behavior and reputation for being difficult to work with have damaged his standing in the industry. Fans and industry professionals alike grew weary of his antics, and this negative perception has been hard to shake. So, while Guns N' Roses remains a legendary name in rock history, Rose's personal fame has been overshadowed by his band's legacy and the contributions of his former bandmates. And though the successful reunion tours featuring Slash and McKagan have reignited interest in the band's classic lineup, Rose's individual star power, however, has been less prominent. Gene Simmons, Kiss. Gene Simmons, the bassist and co-lead singer of Kiss, has always been a figure larger than life. However, several factors contributed to Gene Simmons' gradual decline in fame over the ensuing decades. So, while Kiss will forever remain a significant name in rock history, Simmons himself has experienced a decline in personal fame and relevance for various reasons. Simmons is widely known for his entrepreneurial spirit and keen business sense. However, his relentless pursuit of commercial ventures, ranging from Kiss-branded merchandise to reality television television shows has led to a perception of overexposure. This relentless commercialization diluted his rock star image and alienated some fans who saw it as a betrayal of the rebellious spirit of rock and roll. A prime example was when he tried to trademark the devil horns hand gesture, a move that was seen by many, including his fans, as an overreach and an attempt to commodify a symbol that is considered as part of the public domain within rock culture. Simmons has also never shied away from speaking his mind, often causing controversy with his outspoken views. Over the years, he has made numerous provocative and politically incorrect statements that have sparked backlash. His comments on topics like immigration, mental health, depression, and gender have sometimes been seen as insensitive or out of touch, leading to a loss of connection with his younger fan base. One of the most shocking moments came during a 2016 interview with Songfacts.com, where Simmons' lack of compassion was laid bare for all to see. Addressing the topic of depression, he made cold remarks, suggesting that those suffering from the condition should simply end their lives. In addition to his commercial exploits, Simmons has also diversified his career into non-musical ventures, including reality TV with shows like Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. While these ventures kept him in the public eye, they often also painted a picture of a businessman rather than a rock legend, further distancing him from his musical roots. Simmons' decline in fame can be attributed to a combination of overexposure, evolving music trends, controversial public statements, internal band struggles, lack of musical innovation, and a focus on non-musical ventures. These factors have collectively diminished his standing in the music world and reduced his relevance among newer generations of rock fans. David Lee Roth, Van Halen. Following their 1984 tour, tensions between Roth and the other members of Van Halen, particularly guitarist Eddie Van Halen, led to a highly publicized split in April 1985. The split was said to have been a result of creative differences in the band. Roth accused Eddie of being controlling and dismissive of his contributions, while Eddie criticized Roth's ego and bad behavior. However, after the split, Roth embarked on a solo career, aiming to prove himself as a strong force outside of the band. His departure marked the beginning of a musical journey filled with both highs and lows. Roth's solo career started off strong, with his debut solo album, Eat 'Em and Smile, 1986, receiving positive reviews and spawning hits like Yankee Rose and Going Crazy. The album showcased Roth's signature swagger and flair, reaffirming his status as a rock icon. His subsequent albums, including Skyscraper, 1988, and A Little Ain't Enough, 1991, continued to showcase his musical prowess and showmanship, though with smaller commercial success to his first album. However, the late 1990s saw a shift in musical tastes, with the rise of grunge and alternative rock overshadowing the flamboyant rock stylings of Roth's solo work. His brand of glam metal fell out of favor with mainstream audiences, making it challenging for him to maintain relevance in an evolving industry. Roth's solo output also became increasingly infrequent, with long gaps between album releases. This inconsistency made it difficult for him to sustain all his die-hard fans. So although Roth's solo career was better than most rock stars that break out from their bands, his solo career just couldn't live up to his glorious and famous days with the band. That's it for rock stars who haven't figured out they aren't famous anymore. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.